have a question for you. When was the last time the power went out at your house? I mean, a
Mm.
real total blackout. No lights, no Wi-Fi, just dead silence.
It happened a few months ago during a storm, actually. And it is unsettling how quickly the mood changes. You go from, annoyed to on edge in about 20 minutes.
Right. Now imagine that feeling, but amplify it. Strip away the storm. Strip away any logical reason for the lights to go out. And then throw in a rumor that maybe, just maybe, your neighbor isn't who they say they are.
And suddenly you are on Maple Street.
We are doing a deep dive today into what is arguably the most terrifying 25 minutes of television ever produced. It is Rod Serling's masterpiece from the Twilight Zone, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
March 4th, 1960, that's when it first aired. And frankly, it hasn't aged a day. If anything, it's scarier now.
I remember reading the script for this in, like, 7th grade English class. It's a staple. And looking back at the notes for this, I realized why teachers love it. It's perfect for picking apart literary devices. It's got foreshadowing, irony, symbolism, the works.
Oh, it really is a masterclass in writing. But the reason it sticks with us isn't because of the literary devices. It's because it exposes something really, really ugly about how human beings operate in groups.
So here's the plan. We're going to revisit Maple Street, but we're going to keep that English class lens handy. We want to see how Serling, builds this engine of destruction. We aren't just watching a story about aliens.
No, we're watching a dissection of a society falling apart.
And we should be clear, the breakdown happens fast.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the end of civilization in the span of a single evening.
So let's set the scene. It's late summer. Maple Street is the definition of mundane. You have Steve Brand polishing his car. You have the ice cream vendor. It's idyllic.
It's the American dream packaged in black and white.
And that normalcy is a trap. Serling spends the first few minutes just lulling you into a false sense of security. In narrative terms, this is the status quo. You have to show how stable things are so that the disruption feels violent.
And the disruption is pretty weird. It's a flash of light and a roar overhead. A meteor, they say. But then the physics of the world just break.
This is a crucial detail. It's not just that the power lines are down, it's that battery-operated radios are dead. Portable electronics won't work. Even the cars, the gas-powered cars, won't start.
Which, even for 1960, is impossible. A blown transformer doesn't drain the battery in your portable radio.
Right. And that impossibility creates a vacuum of logic. When the laws of physics stop working, people stop thinking physically and start thinking emotionally. They feel isolated. And into that silence steps a catalyst.
Tommy, the 14-year-old kid.
It's so interesting that Serling uses a child here. In literature, children are often symbols of innocence or maybe truth. But here, Tommy is the spark that burns the whole thing down. He doesn't have a weapon, he has a story.
Yeah, he starts talking about a comic book he read. He tells the adults that in the story, aliens send down a mothership, but before they land, they send scouts.
4 innocent-looking people, a family, just to live among the humans.
They look just like humans. That is the line that changes everything, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. At first, the adults laugh him off. Go to bed, kid. Too many comic books. But you can see it in their faces. The seed is planted.
That is the moment the monster arrives. The monster isn't some guy in a rubber suit.
No, it's an idea. It's the concept of the 5th column, the enemy within.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. If my car didn't start, my phone was dead, and a meteor just flew over, and then some kid says aliens, I might not believe him, but I'd definitely be looking for answers. Is it really so irrational for them to start looking around?
Looking for answers is rational. Looking for a target is not. And that is the distinction Serling makes. They don't try to solve the problem. They try to find someone to blame for it.
They skip investigation and go straight to accusation.
Exactly. And the first target is Les Goodman.
Poor Les. He tries to start his car, nothing happens. He walks away, and then suddenly, vroom, the car starts all by itself.
Okay, that is spooky. If I'm standing there, I'm thinking, how did he do that?
It is spooky. But look at how quickly the neighbors weaponize it. They instantly pivot from weird car trouble to Les is an alien. They recall that he didn't come out to look at the meteor. They treat his lack of curiosity as evidence of guilt.
And this is where we get into that concept of idiosyncrasy.
Yes, a great vocabulary word. A quirk or a habit.
We all have them. Maybe you check the mail twice a day. Maybe you jog at 3 a.m.
Maybe you create podcasts for a like.
Exactly. Under normal circumstances, those are just quirks. But when fear takes over and idiosyncrasy becomes an indictment, Les Goodman is guilty of insomnia.
Yeah.
His neighbors have seen him standing on his porch at night, looking at the sky.
Look at the stars. That's his crime.
And in the context of the mob, that translates to waiting for the mothership. Les literally yells at them, "I'm guilty of insomnia. What's the penalty for insomnia?"
But no one is listening. And this is where Steve Brand steps in. He's the protagonist, the hero archetype, right? He tries to calm everyone down.
He tries. He tells them they're acting like a wild stampede. But watch what happens to Steve. Because he defends the outsider, he becomes an outsider himself.
It's guilt by association.
It's actually worse than that. It's suspicion of intelligence. Steve is rational. He tells them to use their heads. But the mob is operating on instinct. So his rationality makes him suspicious. They turn on him because he's working on a ham radio in his basement.
Which, again, totally normal hobby. My uncle has a ham radio. But the neighbors go, "Who are you talking to, Steve? Who talks to you?"
It's the classic mechanism of scapegoating. A scapegoat is a biblical concept, the goat that bears the sins of the community and is sent into the wilderness. The people on Maple Street are terrified of the dark. They can't punch the darkness.
So they need a person they can punch. They need to embody their fear in a neighbor so they can destroy it.
And it gets darker. Literally. Night falls, the shadows get longer, and then we meet Charlie.
Charlie is the antagonist. If Steve's the voice of reason, Charlie is the voice of fear. He's aggressive, he's loud, and he's holding a hammer looking for a nail.
And then a figure appears down the street, walking toward them in the gloom.
This is the climax. The tension just snaps. Panic sets in. Don Martin brings a shotgun, which is a terrifying escalation in itself, and Charlie grabs it.
He doesn't ask who goes there. He doesn't wait. He just fires.
And when the body falls, they realize it's Pete Van Horn, their neighbor, the guy who walked over to the next street to check the power lines.
Charlie killed an innocent man because he was scared of a shadow.
And this is the turning point. Up until now, the violence was verbal. Now, blood has been spilled. You would think this would wake them up. You'd think they'd say, "Oh my God, what have we done?"
But they don't. They double down.
They turn on Charlie. And here is the irony. The lights in Charlie's house suddenly flick on.
Talk about bad timing.
Or perfect timing, dramatically speaking. The mob instantly decides Charlie is the alien. He killed Pete to keep him quiet.
And Charlie, I almost feel sorry for him in this moment. He's a bully, but now he's the victim. He is terrified. He's running toward his house, screaming, and the neighbors are throwing rocks. It's primal.
It is mob mentality in its purest form. Individuals lose their moral compass. They stop being Steve or Don. They just become the mob. They feel safe in the crowd, so they can commit atrocities they would never do alone.
And then Charlie does the only thing he can think of to save himself. He throws the 14-year-old under the bus.
He screams, "It's the kid! It's Tommy! He's the one!"
And the crowd buys it, just like that.
Instantly, because they need a new target. Charlie is desperate to shift the spotlight, and the mob is desperate for an answer that fits their narrative. A woman screams, "He was the only one who knew!" And suddenly, a group of grown adults is tackling a child.
The scene ends in total chaos. Lights flashing on and off, people screaming, hitting each other. It's twist. We leave the street, we go up to a hilltop overlooking the town, and we see two figures standing by a metal craft.
The actual aliens.
And they are watching the riot. They have a little device, a control panel.
They admit it. They turned off the lights. They started the car. They manipulated the whole environment.
But, and this is the part that hits me hard, they didn't force anyone to kill Pete Van Horn. They didn't tell Charlie to shoot. They didn't tell the neighbors to throw rocks.
No. And that is the alien strategy. They explain it so clearly. They don't need bombs. They don't need death rays. One alien says to the other, "All we need to do is sit back and watch."
They disrupt a few machines, throw a little darkness into the mix, and the humans destroy themselves.
They call it a pattern. Maple Street is not unique. They're just going to go from town to town, flicking the switch and letting us tear each other apart.
As unstable, self-destructive creatures who are just waiting for an excuse to turn on one another.
Now, we have to talk about why Rod Serling wrote this. Because in 1960, he wasn't really worried about Martians.
Not at all. This episode is a direct allegory for the Cold War and McCarthyism.
The Red Scare.
Right. We were in the grip of this intense paranoia that communist spies were everywhere. The fifth column. The government, led by people like Senator McCarthy, was encouraging people to root out these spies.
So your neighbor might look like a regular American dad, but secretly, he's a Bolshevik, plotting the downfall of democracy.
Exactly. And people were ruined by this. You could be blacklisted, lose your job, lose your friends, all based on a rumor. Maybe you subscribed to a certain magazine. Maybe you went to a meeting 10 years ago. That was your